Yo, what's up everyone? Today we're taking a trip down memory lane, back to the year 2013, a time when coding was a whole different ballgame. So I did something incredibly stupid. Something that might make you question my sanity. I decided to learn to code from a tutorial older than my little brother. 2013, can you believe it? Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy. Back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and floppy disks were still a thing. Remember those? They were like the ancient ancestors of USB drives. I mean, I love a good challenge, but this is practically archaeology. Digging through old electronics, trying to make sense of it all. This is less coding, more like digital exhumation. It's like I'm unearthing relics from a bygone era. I stumbled upon this totally rad, their words not mine, tutorial on building a website. The tutorial was so old it felt like it was written on stone tablets. Yeah, you heard that right, a website, from scratch. No fancy frameworks, no modern tools. Just pure unadulterated HTML, CSS and some ancient JavaScript. Using HTML, CSS and some ancient JavaScript framework I'd never even heard of. It was like deciphering hieroglyphics. It's like trying to build a spaceship using blueprints from the Wright brothers. The instructions were so outdated it was almost comical. Wish me luck. I'm going in. Armed with nothing but my wits and a very old laptop, I'm ready to tackle this challenge head on. The first thing I noticed was how different the coding environment was back then. No fancy IDEs, just a simple text editor. It felt like I was coding in the dark ages. And the errors? Oh, the errors. Debugging was a nightmare. No helpful error messages, just cryptic lines of code that made no sense. I had to rely on old coding books and forums that looked like they hadn't been updated since the early 2000s. It was a real test of patience and perseverance. But then, after hours of struggle, I finally got the code to work. The sense of accomplishment was incredible. It was like I just climbed Mount Everest. Looking at the finished website, I felt a sense of pride. It wasn't the most modern or flashy site, but it was mine. Built with my own two hands, using ancient tools. This experience taught me a lot about the evolution of coding. It made me appreciate how far we've come and how much easier things are now. So, if you're ever feeling nostalgic or just want a challenge, I highly recommend trying out an old coding tutorial. It's a trip down memory lane you won't forget. Thanks for joining me on this journey back to 2013's coding Wonderland. Until next time, happy coding. First things first, setting up the development environment. It seemed simple enough, just like any other project. But little did I know this was going to be a journey back in time, to an era where technology was both fascinating and frustrating. I was about to dive into a world of retro computing, where every click and keystroke would remind me of how far we've come, and how much we've left behind. The tutorial cheerfully told me to download some long-forgotten IDE that hasn't been updated since the dinosaurs died. It was like stepping into a time machine, back to the days when software came on floppy disks, and the internet was a series of beeps and static. The nostalgia was real, but so was the impending sense of doom. After finally finding a download link that didn't give me a virus warning, I installed the thing. It took forever, like watching paint dry. The progress bar moved at a snail's pace, and I couldn't help but wonder if this was a test of my patience. Every second felt like an eternity, but I was committed. I had come this far, and there was no turning back now. And boy, was it a sight to behold. The moment the installation was complete, I was greeted by an interface that looked like it had been designed by a time traveler from the 90s. It was clunky, colorful, and completely out of place in today's sleek, minimalist world. But there was something charming about it, something that made me smile despite the absurdity of it all. The interface looked like Windows 95 had a baby with a speak and spell. It was a mashup of bright colors, pixelated icons, and fonts that seemed to scream retro. It was both hilarious and horrifying, a reminder of how far we've come in terms of design and usability. But it was also a challenge, a puzzle that I was determined to solve. It even had a blinking cursor that seemed to mock my every move. Every time I tried to type something, it would blink at me as if to say, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" It was infuriating, but also strangely motivating. I was determined to conquer this beast, to prove that I could navigate this digital relic and come out victorious. I half expected Clippy to pop up and offer helpful advice. Remember Clippy, that annoying little paperclip that would appear out of nowhere, offering tips and tricks that were more distracting than helpful? It was a blast from the past, a reminder of the days when software tried a little too hard to be user-friendly. But in this case, I could have used all the help I could get. This is going to be interesting. I took a deep breath, rolled up my sleeves and prepared for the challenge ahead. This was more than just a trip down memory lane. It was a test of my skills, my patience, and my ability to adapt to a world that no longer existed. But I was ready. Bring it on, retro computer, let's see what you've got. Alright, let's dive into the code. The tutorial proudly presented a wall of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that looked like it was written in hieroglyphics. I mean, I can read code, but this was like deciphering an ancient scroll. Inline styles, tables for layout. What is this? The dark ages of web development? I spent the next hour just trying to figure out what the heck was going on. It's like the tutorial was written in a different language. Oh wait, it practically was. Every time I thought I'd made some progress, bam, another error message. It felt like I was in a never-ending loop of frustration. Just when I thought I had finally cracked the code, another cryptic error would pop up, mocking my efforts. It was as if the computer was playing a cruel joke on me, testing my patience and resolve, and not the helpful kind either. These error messages were like riddles wrapped in enigmas, designed to confuse and confound. They offered no clear solution, just a vague hint that something, somewhere, had gone terribly wrong. It was enough to make anyone want to pull their hair out in sheer exasperation. These were cryptic messages that seemed designed to make me question my sanity. Each one was more perplexing than the last, leading me down a rabbit hole of endless troubleshooting. I would spend hours searching for answers only to end up more confused than when I started. It was a maddening cycle of hope and despair. Naturally, I turned to my trusty companion, Stack Overflow. The go-to resource for developers everywhere, Stack Overflow had saved me countless times before. Surely it would have the answers I needed to solve this latest conundrum. I eagerly typed my query into the search bar, hoping for a quick and easy solution. Surely someone out there had encountered this ancient problem before. With millions of users and an extensive archive of questions and answers, Stack Overflow was a treasure trove of knowledge. I was confident that I would find the solution I needed, and my frustration would soon be a thing of the past. But alas, even the vast knowledge of Stack Overflow couldn't save me. The answers I found were either outdated or irrelevant, offering little to no help. It was disheartening to see that even the most trusted resource had failed me in my time of need. My hope quickly turned to despair as I realized I was still stuck in the same frustrating situation. Most of the answers were from 2014 and just as outdated as the tutorial itself. It was like trying to solve a modern problem with ancient tools. The technology had evolved, but the solutions had not. I felt like I was trapped in a time warp, unable to find the help I needed to move forward, and just as outdated as the tutorial itself. The information was no longer relevant, and the solutions offered were no longer applicable. It was a stark reminder of how quickly technology changes, and how important it is to stay up to date with the latest developments. I realized that I would need to find a new approach if I wanted to solve this problem. It's like asking for directions in a foreign country and everyone just points you to a dead end. No matter how many people I asked or how many resources I consulted, I couldn't find the answers I needed. It was a frustrating and isolating experience, but it also taught me an important lesson. Sometimes, you have to rely on your own ingenuity and perseverance to find a solution. And so, with renewed determination, I set out to tackle the problem head-on, knowing that the journey would be challenging, but ultimately rewarding. Section 5. Debugging the dinosaur Jurassic code requires Jurassic measures. Remember those cryptic error messages I mentioned? Yeah, it turns out they were actually helpful. In a throw enough mud at the wall and something will stick kind of way. I spent hours just randomly changing things, hoping something would work. And you know what? Sometimes it did. I have no idea why or how, but occasionally the code would magically start working. It's like the digital equivalent of sacrificing a goat to the coding gods. Section 6, the joy of victory, or just relief that it's over. After what felt like an eternity, I finally reached the end of the tutorial. Did I feel a sense of accomplishment? Not really. More like a wave of exhaustion washed over me, mixed with the faint smell of burnt silicon. The website I'd built was a masterpiece of early 2010s web design. It looked like it belonged on GeoCities, complete with animated GIFs and a hit counter. But hey, it worked, sort of, and that's all that mattered. Section 7, Lessons Learned, Time Travel is Best Left to Doctor Who. So, what did I learn from this little adventure in coding archaeology? Firstly, technology moves fast, like really fast. What was cutting edge in 2013 is now the digital equivalent of a fossil. Secondly, Never underestimate the power of Stack Overflow, even if the answers are older than you are. Finally, sometimes the best way to fix a problem is to just start randomly changing things until it works. Okay, maybe not the last one. Section 8, a call to arms. Share your coding time travel tales. Alright, now it's your turn. I want to hear about your adventures in coding archaeology. Have you ever tried following an ancient tutorial? What horrors did you encounter? Let me know in the comments below, and remember, if you ever find yourself using a tutorial from 2013, just close your laptop and walk away. Trust me, it's not worth it.